This is Men in Labor. Howard Wheeler from Chris-Tel. Is it still Chris-Tel?
It is. Chris-Tel Construction.
Chris-Tel Construction. And it's Lee County. I'm going to say Lee County, but Fort Myers is.
Yeah, Fort Myers, Lee County, Cape Coral, all of.
I know you from Fort Myers because I go down to Fort Myers to do the school. And you've probably been there since day one with me.
What was the first year you did it? I forgot. Early 90s? 92?
Late 90s because you're a certified contractor, right?
Correct.
You're a CGC.
Correct.
So CGC does even year. So 98 would have been the first year that I was down in
Fort Myers. That's when I met you then.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was at the Holiday Inn there on 41.
Yeah, which is gone now.
It is gone.
Used to be a Radisson. That went away also.
It did.
They had a comedy club in there that I used to do in the 80s.
I'd forgotten that. That's
and
right.
They moved it over there. I think it's still called Laughing. No, it's Snappers now. Actually, it's Snappers.
It's no longer Laughing right at on College.
But Fort Myers was like an alien area for me because I had known Sarasota just a little bit. I came from Cleveland. I was like, all right, this is interesting, right? This whole new area for me. I was excited. You know, the Bell Center, the Bell Outlets, or whatever that mall is. I always get very excited to travel through Florida. I've hit every little town now. But I know people from their towns, from their faces. Sometimes I know their names. And you, at that time, you were coming. I don't know. Did you come by yourself or did you bring people? Because some people bring a crew.
No, I came by myself to that one. A friend of mine had reached out and said, hey, these things can be boring. This is something new that somebody's trying. You want to go? I'm like, state says we got to go. If we can learn and it's entertaining, let's knock it out. That's what we did.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. We started bringing in people, making it better. My lawyers, who have been with me since probably day one, there was a class in Fort Myers, and they called me, and they're like, we completely forgot, or something happened. Now, these guys don't ever forget anything. They caught a private plane to make it. They flew down. I mean, that's commitment. We are so committed to the contractors that our lawyers flew down on a private jet to make this class. That's how important it is. People don't realize how important it is. For me, it's extremely important to never miss a class, never start late, always finish on time, right? To do what we're supposed to do, the job. And I think it is kind of a blue collar background thing, to get the job done, to make sure you finish completely. And I could have never done it, I don't think, without contractors, because this group of people that I deal with, you included, no matter how hard this is to sit in class for a 14-hour period and talk about what we do, safety, work comp, code, all these things, they're still pretty jovial.
Oh, yeah. Contractors overall are get-it-done people, but they're optimists, obviously, or they wouldn't stay in the construction business very long because enough happens in our industry, ups and downs, that if you were easily discouraged, you would quit.
So you wake up every day. You're in the business. How long have you been in the business?
I started Chris-Tel in 1989. I worked for my dad before that. My dad worked for my grandfather before that. So
you were in the
they
business,
like free labor at like 4 years
with
old.
Them? Okay, so you're with them.
If you're born into that family, they like free sweepers and,
right.
Like
almost
you learn how to pick up a job site at 5 years old.
Right. You got no choice. If your dad says something, you got to do it.
Right.
That's it. So, and they weren't great with paying.
No, they didn't worry about paying you. They said you ate 3 squares, right?
You got food.
Get to it.
It doesn't work today for some reason. I always say that to my kids. I go, you know what I did for you, and you still want some money from this? And they're not doing any hard labor. It's like updating my iPhone. Are you kidding me?
Look, it's a good gig if you can get it. There's a whole IT industry out there.
And they're making, but off their dad. So I remember doing the same thing, right? So growing up in that type of family. And then also contractors, for some reason, construction industry is almost I'm not trying to blow smoke. It's true that they're one of the most giving organizations. You just told me that you're giving free educational seminars to banks. So it's still happening. But as a kid, I remember working for the Kiwanis. Like we'd have to go sell Christmas trees. Even if our Christmas tree, if there was not one left, we didn't get one. It was like the crappiest tree. We would sell trees for the Kiwanis in the winter because that's what my father was doing at that time. Because he was just like every contractor, very charitable. And I mean, he wasn't exactly a charitable person. His family was pretty good at doing things like that, and he was trying to get in. So I was saying the Italians are pretty good about that. They know who to like take care of. So then what I used to hear is, we would rather have you owe me. So I'm going to do something for you because you're going to owe me later. That's how we grew up. That was the family that we knew.
Yeah, our whole industry, and like my family's been in Fort Myers for a really long time, right? They've been in business, construction business there over 100 years. And it becomes, it's a community. So you help the community, you help the people in the community, and the tide comes in, the tide goes out. The community helps you. You get referrals, you get all these things, and you just do what you're supposed to do and do the right thing for the right reason, and it works out.
Did someone teach you this?
Yeah, my parents.
So your parents knew this way of doing this.
My parents just tried to always do the right thing for the right reason, and
it wasn't for business. It wasn't for business.
No.
So you were raised in a 2-person family. They stayed together.
Correct.
And your family. See, this is a concept for me that I can't relate to. My father wasn't around after a while, and my mother had to suffer, and she had to go get a job, and you don't have time to worry about how things should go. You're in a hole. You're trying to get out of the hole and get back to zero. We were in negative all the time. So I watched my uncle, but he wasn't a community guy. Like, he didn't care too much about community. He would do his thing and benefit from it, but I don't remember any giving back. I don't remember any interest in the city of Cleveland or the city of, he knew people. He would do things it was more of a,
right.
They weren't city-based. It was more Italian-based.
Well, it was more individuals, right? That's who his friends were.
But they were that group. They had to be Italians. They were very strict with the Italians, right?
Yeah.
And that's I don't know if that was here in Florida too, with native Floridians. I feel like that was. Like, native Floridians stuck together. They still kind of stick together.
I think everybody associates with whomever it is they think their people are, right? If you're from the South, you may think that people from the South. If you're Italian, you think the Italians are your people. I'm from Fort Myers, so people that are from Fort Myers have been there a really long time. That's my people.
Yeah. So trying to move from Fort Myers, you ever think about that?
Never had any reason to move from Fort Myers, right?
You love it.
I don't know.
Never thought about moving to Sarasota?
No.
Tampa, Naples?
No.
Have you had the opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, you in our industry booms all over. Our license is statewide. So, you can go somewhere else and make a living. But if you've spent an entire lifetime and you've been generations in one's place and they've all been builders, people know that you're a builder.
See, and that, again, is something that you learned as a kid. It's a habit. You basically have a pattern that you have now followed, and it's almost like impossible to break, or not impossible, but why break it? Because, again, I grew up in Cleveland, but I moved probably 9 times within the city of Cleveland. And then I moved to Iowa. Then I moved back to Cleveland. I moved to California. I moved to Florida, like all over the place. So my brain is wired to, hey, let's move to Austin, Texas. Let's move to Nashville. Let's try these different places, because I've always done that. I've always been on the move. So it's fascinating to me, because I have a group of people in Cleveland never moved. And they will say the same things. Why would I leave Cleveland? Everything's in Cleveland.
That's all their people.
They're completely connected to that area. But could they move?
Well, I mean, they could if they chose to do that. They just have to be ready for the change, right?
Would it benefit you to move?
Would it benefit me to move?
Let's just say generally, because this podcast goes everywhere. We talk to people, and we got people in Australia listening to this.
I don't know if it would benefit me or not. It benefits me to give back to my community and stay where I am and do what I do, right? It's comfortable to me to do that.
Yes.
Do you grow by being uncomfortable? Maybe. Do you lose something by going there? Maybe. Look, we've built a great organization through our company. 5 years ago, we started transitioning to an ESOP, right? Employee stock option plan. So the employees are vested in. That's the next generation of leaders in our company. So at some point, if they don't need me anymore and I'm not there, I might move somewhere, but not until.
So you're fully committed to your area, to your business, your way of life, right? And even deeper. Because now what you tell me with this thing about the banks going around, just this little thing, I haven't know much. You just told me briefly before the pod that you're going around making the community stronger. Not even for your own benefit. Really, it's not. It's kind of like shoring up.
It is, and there's nuances in every industry that other industries that interact with you know something about, but they can't know the details that we know. As simple as on a large project, you'll have a builder's risk all insurance policy, right? We recently had a tragic hurricane in Florida, or in Fort Myers a few years ago, Hurricane Ian.
Yeah.
So after COVID, all of the contractors, you do all of your early orders, get all your stuff, right? Long lead items, get it on site, put it in a Connex box. It's insured, bank inspects it, they peek in there, okay, it's all good. You have a storm event, a big flood event, and that material was damaged, is no longer physically in the boundary of the construction site. Is it covered under that insurance policy? No.
It moved because of the water.
It's not on site.
And they won't cover it?
Not on site anymore. Right? That's one of the stories that we heard related to a project on Fort Myers Beach. Correct.
If someone steals that property, is it covered?
Yes.
Didn't the flood basically steal it?
Stolen from the property.
Yeah, it's stolen by the water.
Look, I don't know. I'm just telling you the
act of nature is not in the policy.
I'm sure that it would be in some degree in a policy, but
we need reform.
It wasn't inside the boundaries of the property. They said it wasn't covered. It wasn't our project, so I don't have all the nuances. I just have the story that I got from the people that were on site, right? So
that's a new one.
Well, that's right. That's the stuff that we're trying to educate the bank about, right? So what do you do about it to make sure the stuff stays on property? Exclusions in a contractor's completed operations
Hang on one
policy.
second. If a guy's house gets destroyed,
yeah,
and it ends up on someone else's property, you're telling me it's not covered?
That's property insurance. That's not builder's risk insurance.
Same concept, though, right?
Totally different policy.
But they got you.
Policies a
You
contract
should be going around
for
to
the limits.
insurance companies and educating them.
Well, look, it's we try to educate people. Like, we recently went to a bank. One of the things we brought up there was exterior insulation finish system, right? EFIS. We all know drive it, so manufacturer, all of that. Insurance companies in Florida today are listing those as exclusions in your completed operations policy. Mm-hmm. So if contractor builds a building, EFIS is an exterior wall system on that building, it has a problem 10 years later, it's not covered, it's been excluded. So does the lender know? That's one of the education things we were doing to the bank. Mm-hmm. Is the bank getting copies of the exclusions from the contractors that are hired to do the work? Do they even know that it's excluded? Does the contractor themselves spend enough time reading their own policy to know what the exclusions are? Normally, I would say exactly what you just said. They probably don't. They hold up the deck page, right? Here's my limits. Here's my coverage. Boom, boom, boom. There you go.
This is the new insurance company, for better words, scam.
I don't know if it's a scam or not. It's the contract,
For
right?
me, if you are tricking people legally, it's a legal trick. Because, hey, here it's in the policy. We gave you the policy. We told you to read the policy, and you signed the policy. It's almost impossible for me to look at 73 pages for an iPhone contract. It's impossible. Any comedian has already made fun of that on multiple levels. South Park has made fun of that. I don't know if you ever saw that episode. These contracts that they get you to sign, I've always thought that the judge would have leniency on me if I just threw myself at him and said, Judge, you know damn well I couldn't read this, not all this, and I had to do it in that time frame because they wanted an electronic signature that day. It's wrong, is what I'm saying.
Look, what I know is in our industry, if you're a contractor and you're doing business in Florida, you need to understand your declarations page, right? What is covered, what's not, and the exclusions. If you buy auto insurance, you need to know what's not covered, right? That's what you look for.
And the work comp.
Right. Whatever the insurance policies are, you need to understand what's not covered. Because the devil's always in the details with everything. So what's not included?
I just heard this with Duke, our work comp guy, talking about this. That guys don't know that they don't have coverage for certain things. Because they have to actually be shown. They have to. Their hands have to be held. Their eyes have to be forced. And they have to look at it.
Right.
But they never know until something happens, and
you learn two ways. Somebody that knows explains the exclusions to you, which is what we're trying to do for the lenders and other community partners.
You're doing this.
Yep.
That's an example of what you're doing for the banks, and you're doing it without compensation.
Correct.
You're doing it to shore up the industry so things don't fail.
Right.
So the bank doesn't fail, so the contractors don't fail. what you're doing is you're giving a hug to all these people. It don't happen a lot, is what I'm saying. That doesn't a lot of people aren't doing this.
Well, we're concerned about relationships. We have over 80% of our work is for repeat clients. We're concerned about our relationships. We know that any successful business people are concerned about their business relationships.
Right.
So what we want to do is to help, in this case, a bank, make sure that their relationship with their customer, the borrower, doesn't get strained by an event because nobody knew to look for the exclusions in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
Maintains relationships, makes good ones.
I'm 100% on your side.
Right.
I just am surprised, but it's a great business thing. It's a very smart business strategy, what you're doing. It is. Because you think about, there's multiple ways of getting on the side of different groups. Like what I did for you guys before you came in. I gave you pepperoni and cheese. That was amazing, right? Very few podcasts.
And we're feeling a little lightheaded.
Offer hors d'oeuvres. But like, for example, the comedy industry has nothing like this. I do stand up. There's no comparable, hey, there's a meeting of all the comics and we're going to exchange ideas on how to make sure you get paid better at bookings and how you avoid some of these bad bookings and possibly how you can maybe move up in the world. It's none of that.
No?
It's all for one. It's all for one in the business of stand-up.
Well, then
Even the comedy clubs
right,
will charge people to get on stages $5 to do a 5-minute set. Now, you're talking about broke people who have no experience, no credibility, and all they want is they're practicing for a year, a 5-minute routine. All they want to do is get on stage and try it, and then the guy goes, "We're going to charge you for it coming up here. We're going to charge you." That's really payola. That used to be the old days of having a song and paying the DJ to play it. This is amazing to me because if you think about how many businesses don't do it, it's got to be 90% of the businesses don't do things like this.
Yeah, I don't know. We found it successful to us to build relationships wherever we could. And if we can enhance somebody else's business with their customer and their relationships, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? If we hire people to come into our business to make us better. We have specialists will come in and we'll give them one certain thing to look at. What's our operations or what is our flow chart for our software? What is all of this? Can it be better? How do you make it better? So we work on ourselves. Why wouldn't we want to be better? And why wouldn't, in this case, a lending institution, why wouldn't they want to know?
Most people would say because they're not making any money from it. That's what most people would say. Directly. Well, so I understand what you're saying. You don't have to prove it to me anymore. I get it.
Right.
I absolutely
But you really do end up making more money.
I know.
Long term. If you think short term,
you had to figure this out somehow. Either it was Molly that came up with this, or somebody in your office. Did you come up with this strategy? Was it your guidance from your parents? Was it because you've been in the community for so long that you saw, like you probably couldn't see this if you hadn't been in Fort Myers for a while. You're already there. You've established yourself. You know all the ins and outs. Your tentacles are everywhere. You've got strong roots. And then you're like, what else can we do?
We'll listen if somebody comes to us and asks a handful of questions, right? We've had lenders come to us and say, hey, we had a problem on a job site. Can you explain to us how this issue related to maybe the lien law works? Or we'll get just peppered with questions that are really technically specific to what's the contractor's point of view, or what does a contractor do with or without that? And we started realizing that all of these industries, whether it's a bank or an architect or an engineer, they all touch the technical part of what a general contractor or construction manager does. But the only way to really know that the really infinite technical details of all of those items is to be in the middle of it. So if we can go share some of those without them having to go through all that we go through to do our business, like if they can share with us, whether it's lending or engineering or whatever it is, things that help us be better to understand them or their industry, and we don't have to live in all the technical day-to-day, look, that's a win-win for both sides. That's what we're trying to do.
So who is your main customer?
I don't know that we have a main customer. Like our Our type of construction, we do almost every type of commercial contracting other than single family homes. We don't do that. So we'll work for private individuals building apartments. We'll work for a housing authority building workforce housing. We'll work for the county building a park. We'll work for a city or a county doing utilities or road work or whatever it is on the construction management profile. So public, private work. I don't know whether they have. It
So
seems to cycle.
Are you seeking it, or are they coming to you?
Some of both. Some of both. Certain, like municipality, you're spending public money. They have a procurement process, so they'll put out the need for an RFQ for a construction manager to do, let's say, a park. 3 or 4 or 10 or however many put in their qualifications, and they select based on qualifications for construction management at risk. You do a guaranteed maximum price proposal, full transparency on the billings, the bidding, all of that. And that's how our local municipalities do it. I don't know if it's done that way all over the world or not.
Is it always lowest bidder?
No. In that particular case, it's not about the dollars. You don't bid the job. They select you based on
Before the bid.
certain series of qualifications, because as it goes through the process, the bidding, once they select the construction manager, the bidding now becomes at the subcontractor level. We put all the bid packages together. We advertise all those sub packages. We get competitive pricing from all those sub packages. And then we level all of those to make sure it's all apples and apples. What's the lowest qualified bidder to do the job? And then we compile all of that for our customer, which in a case may be a municipality. Say, here you go. That's the transparency. We've shown them the bid, the advertising process, the whole thing. Sometimes they'll want the bids to come in sealed. Sometimes they just want them all packaged together and available. Just different entities do it different ways. So, do we seek them or do they seek us? Yeah, both.
And what's the percentage of that? How many people are coming to you without you having to do anything because you have such a strong reputation now and people know you?
It kind of cycles, meaning like a few years ago, we had Hurricane Ian, right? So all of the private individuals, they're calling the people they know. Right. You get swamped with people coming to us. The governments are trying to get their feet back under them, get the roads open, get all of the things back online for basic services. They're not calling me for, hey, can you come fix my so-and-so, right? They're trying to get basic services online, but the private individuals are calling like crazy.
Right.
And then when the market shifts a little and maybe you have interest rates tick up a little bit and it slows the private side down, does the municipality work pick up a little bit? And they go back through the solicitation process. It really depends on the market, and it depends on the work. It depends on the cycle, right? What business cycle are we in? What we try to do is position ourselves, whether it's public, private, we're finding you, you're finding us, to handle your needs, whatever it is. And we'll handle your needs on a construction project from, hey, somebody drove through the front of my store, knocked 2 doors off. Can you come fix them? Sure, we can. Or, hey, we've got a $70 million multifamily project. Can you come do it? Sure, we can.
So you have
either one.
You have the background, right? Going back to the grandparents. You have your own history, right? Living in Fort Myers, creating your business. And you started off 40 years ago?
Let's see, I started in 1989, so we're in our
almost
35th
40.
year, almost 36, right? So
Was it sketchy at first, or were you solid? Did you think, I got this, or?
I had the luxury
Were you nervous about beginning the business, or did you know you were going to be successful?
My grandfather was in business. My dad was in business with him. I left the family business in 89 to start my business, and I had what I call the wisdom of youth. I didn't know what I didn't know, much less what I didn't know. I knew nothing.
Right.
I knew how to work hard. I knew how to do the skills I'd been taught, and I didn't know that I should immediately fail. And
did it happen?
Statistically,
Did it happen?
We got it done. You
didn't immediately fail.
No,
You never failed.
we worked
right off
through
the bat.
it. Worked through it.
There's so many guys that have family, right? Young boys, young girls,
Yeah.
high school,
Right.
thinking about going to college, thinking about. A lot of contractors can't pass the business on anymore. They can't even convince their kids to get involved in the business. It feels like in some ways, it's a waste almost, right? Because you work so hard, you build something, and you know you could pass it on. And if you're not able to, it either dissipates or you try to sell it to somebody else, but most of the time it dissipates and it goes out the window. So what you had in the 80s still was that era of people saying hands-on, blue collar. I mean, there was a big push for college. Big push since the 60s to go to college. I mean.
Yeah, like I made it 2 whole weeks.
Did you go?
2 weeks.
You went somewhere?
I went 2 weeks, yeah. I went to our local campus that we had in Fort Myers, right? USF had a campus there, and it was called Edison College then, I think. There was junior college, and then USF had a campus there. I sat inside that building for 2 weeks, looked out the window at a guy forming a tie beam thinking, you're not doing that, right? Now, I'm a 20-year-old kid. I'm like, that's not, Actually, I think I was 17 when I quit college. I graduated early from high school and did that. And I already knew the guy wasn't forming the beam right.
Right.
I'm like, I can't sit in here for 14 more years and do this because I was going for, biology degree for pre-med. It's like this. I can't do this for 14 years.
So you're going to be a doctor?
I wanted to be a trauma surgeon.
How does that feel now?
I guess to some degree, in our industry, sometimes it is like trauma surgery. Things show up, you got to deal with it. Whatever it is, you got to fix it.
It's a house or a body, a building or a body.
You're
fixing something.
A problem, right? You're problem solving.
It's a form of engineering.
In
some ways, it just depends.
Yeah.
I like the idea of being a doctor. I don't like all the schooling, but I like the idea of being a doctor.
Look,
I like the white coats. I like the going out to lunch.
Yeah, I don't know if they do that like that anymore.
No, it doesn't happen like that.
I don't know.
I'm always a fantasy guy.
Then.
That's why I became a comic.
Right.
Because I saw things on television. I told you I was raised by TV, not by parents.
Yeah.
So whatever the morals of TV was, that's what I learned. And, how do you become somebody that's a builder? Well, why would you be a builder? Number one, right? I watched my uncle. That was interesting. But to see building on TV there was nothing. There was no bragging about building on TV. There was no bragging about construction on TV. It didn't happen.
Well,
I couldn't feel it, right? For me, I had to feel it from a third party perspective to see people like Eddie Murphy or Sam Kinison and people who would laugh. Like if my father laughed at a comic, it hurt me because I wanted to make him laugh. So that was, I know, Donnie, it's trauma. Donnie's sad about it. But the motivation to become a doctor, the motivation to become a builder, these things start at a young age. Somewhere you see something and you go, I want to do this.
They actually thought, my parents said for years they thought I'd be the doctor and my brother would be the contractor.
So they were
flipped.
Were they talking about that to you?
I think we all, as a family, right? You talk about, schooling or careers, and right. I mean, the job of a parent is to make little people big people.
Were they trying to get you to be a doctor?
No. They wanted you to do whatever you could, and they didn't, whatever you felt like you wanted to do. They just thought that based on them knowing me for 17 years at the time, that's the role I would take.
I was pre-med in college.
You were?
Yeah. And when you're pre-med, college kids treat you like a doctor. They come to you for issues.
I wasn't there long enough to find that out. I was going.
It's all fake, but people ask your major all the time. If you say pre-med, they're like, I got a problem with my ear. I go, let me look at it. You become, and then if I got into trouble,
take your earbud out.
I had pre-law students, and then we had one guy that was a pre-pharmaceutical major. I don't know if you know what that entails, but we had all kinds of people in college, right? And the thing was, that was the comedy for me. That was the comedy of it, right? It wasn't the building part. I actually went back to construction after college because college was such a waste for a lot of people. I shouldn't say for me because I knew I wasn't going to get a degree in anything that I was going to use. I was just going for the party. I was honest about it. I was like, I'm not really going to college to get a degree in something because I'm not getting a job when I leave this. I'm going to probably start my own business. I went right back to construction in 85, went right back to Cleveland, forgot that I even went to college. So I partied another 4 years. And then by that time I was broke. I was in the hole, and I was hanging out with my cousins who were all blue collar guys, right? And that guidance was so poor by the adults in our families. We had nobody telling us, this is the way it goes. This is the way you should go. I had a grandma that maybe would ask me every so often, what are you going to do with your life? But if you don't have somebody, right, the guidance that I see what you talk about, and there's a lot of guys that talk like this, right, how they got into a certain point of their life, how they made it. If you don't have that guidance, you don't know where the hell you're going to end up. It's going to be very difficult for you to be successful. So even with a construction, you don't need it. You don't need a college degree. What you needed was parents. You need someone to tell you the right way. Did your parents say to you, quit college?
No. No, they didn't want me to quit college.
Okay, so you didn't follow the guidance, and you had parents.
They didn't necessarily think that.
What the hell? You had the guidance, and you went against it.
I went with what I thought was right. I'm the one that had to live with it.
See, and I didn't have the guidance, and I went with no guidance, and it worked for me too.
And
it's about the individual now.
Look, I would tell anybody, we talk about it sometimes in our firm, right? Tenacity. Mm-hmm. Don't quit. You're not beat till you quit. Don't quit. Get to it, right? Whether you're in college, out of college, go to college, don't go to college, whatever it is you're doing, unless you give up and throw the towel in, you're still in the fight.
Yeah.
Nobody can beat you unless you stop.
I never quit
Don't
anything.
stop. Right. Don't stop.
I went to college. I graduated in 4 years. I had a B average. I started doing comedy in 87. I've never quit. I started construction school in 97. I've never quit. I've never let go of, because my guidance was motivational speakers. Tom Hopkins, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, all those guys. I read Earl Nightingale. I've read every Hilton, any book that you could get, Trump's book, every book possible. And everything had a through line that said, don't quit, act as if.
Right, don't quit.
That's it. Never quit.
Don't quit.
I never have.
Right.
But the guys that have that background, right? I'm always fascinated by a guy who's had a strong family background. And now what do you do with that, right? You build a business, almost 40 years. What's the next thing for you?
Well, I mean, we're still, like you said, hey, everybody doesn't have the same opportunity. Everybody doesn't have the same guidance. We go out into the community and into the colleges, and we solicit interns, right? Young people. We bring them in. We have what's called a career start program. So we'll take a young man or young woman that thinks they might want to be in construction. They don't really know. They don't really even know at that point in their life age what construction is, what's all involved, right? They think, oh, well, construction's either a guy with a hammer or I'm going to be a project manager, right? You go to school, these kids come out very well educated at what the college teaches them, and they groom project managers. That's what they do.
Right.
They may not understand the nuances of, construction companies have safety people. Construction companies have estimators. Construction companies have general superintendents. They have project site specific superintendents. All of these nuances. So we take our career starts and we move them around. So maybe for 3 to 6 months, this young man or woman will be in estimating. They'll learn about estimating. It benefits the older people that are there, right? That have been there for a really long time. Mm-hmm. They get a crash course on how they do it today, right? They got this young man or woman there with, all this vigor in their system and get up, ready to go. Let's go. It helps their departments and it educates the young person. And then we'll move them out of estimating and we'll move them over to project management.
Is this every year you pick up a group of interns?
Yeah. We try to keep like 3 or 4 all the time doing that. And we'll move them into superintendent. And by the time they rotate around inside the business, we'll even have them go to accounting during the period of time that accounting is generating the invoices. It'll make them a better project manager to understand what accounting has to do to put a bill together. So we move them all around. And by the time they go through that program, now they have more intelligence, more experience about what do I really want to do in construction? And they can give us honest feedback of, hey, when I saw this, I liked this, but I didn't like that. When I was in this department, I liked this. Mm-hmm. I didn't like that. That helps us improve our business. And it gives them insight into what part of the business you want to go to.
So
we grow these young men and women into construction professionals.
Okay.
And we just had a discussion yesterday in our staffing meeting. We review our staffing every Monday. And we just had a conversation yesterday about, look, if young people think they want to be into business, we have a duty to show them what that business really is. Mm-hmm. Because if they really don't, and it's a You know, to use your word from before, I had a fantasy about what this would be. If that's where they are,
Right.
the quicker we can show them what it really is, the better they are. They don't need to waste 5 years of their life learning you don't like construction.
Did you
You
put
know,
him in a
or
trailer?
you love construction.
Make him sit in a trailer for 6 hours a day and do nothing except stare out the window?
Who?
An intern. That's part of the job. You sit in a trailer, you
That's
stare out
not
the
on
window.
our, that's not our job description
You
for
sure?
our interns. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right.
It never happened.
Nope, we integrate them right into whatever it is we're doing, and we'll give them a task.
You don't have a
whether
senior
it's-
project manager sitting in a chair right now staring out a window in a trailer?
No. No, not staring out the window of the trailer. If he's in the trailer, he's doing something. Yep.
Maybe you don't have big enough jobs.
I don't know.
I mean, you got to have
We've had them up to
You got to have
75.
someone sitting right now.
We've
looking
had
out
them
the-
up to 70
someone
million.
that's a 32-year employee that's just like, oh, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. He's looking out the window right now. He's like staring at a college when I should have been a friggin' trauma surgeon.
Oh, staring at the guy pouring concrete, maybe.
My son
Nah, I mean,
complained to me the last time, I'm not going to say specifically, but he was not happy. One of the reasons that he was not happy on his last job was that he was not being utilized.
Right.
That he was in that trailer too much. That there wasn't enough for him to do. That the subs basically handled everything. That he had no real function except they needed someone from the company to be there that day.
Yeah, we don't run our projects like that. We just don't. We have like our interns, their job may be, hey, put together the agenda for the pre-installation of, we're doing a concrete pour next week. So 2 weeks ahead, we're going to have a meeting with the concrete sub. We're going to make sure all their submittals are accurate, all the stuff, everybody understands what the pour is, everything all the way down to what's the truck routing when they roll into project, right? They're coming in this way, they're going that way. Here's where the pumps are set up. This is what we're doing. They're going to roll around that way. There's your washout location. There's your way out the door.
And it's busy enough. They got enough work.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I don't know. He used to call me. I'm like, and I knew he was not doing enough because I would see like he bought something on Amazon or he texted his sisters. We could figure out where the hell
Right.
you are all
Right.
day because of the phones now. We can track you.
Yeah.
So
No, we
I don't know. I'm not
we have
sure
a
why.
program for all the young men and women, right? Acclimate them into our industry, and we don't want you to learn it by osmosis. We want you to learn it by, here's our standard operating procedure. Here's how Chris-Tel does it. This is your role in that procedure.
were you a one-man operation?
When I started,
Yeah.
yes,
What were you doing?
whatever it took,
Any job.
any job. It didn't matter if it was, it didn't matter what kind of job it was. First of all, ended up doing an awful lot of really ugly, nasty, single family home renovations. Because the marketing for that is, and I wasn't smart, I was too young, didn't even understand it, was most of them were for doctors and attorneys, and they're all a pretty tight-knit group. You go do a good job for one of them,
Yeah.
they tell their buddy at the country club or wherever it is, their medical society function thing, this guy did my kitchen and it was great. And you get a call and you got another kitchen to do.
I got a pre-med
That's how it
guy
started.
doing my remodeling.
No, nobody ever really knew I was a pre-med guy, right? I don't advertise that. It doesn't matter at this point. I made a decision not to do that. So
So these
know,
guys
that
are
was
hiring
2 weeks
you.
worth of water
This is
under
what
the
goes
bridge.
on all the time. I mean, I live in this condo now, and if you find one good handyman ready to come over and
They pass 'em
just
around.
fix a screen,
Right.
everybody's using
everybody
this guy,
uses them. That's
right?
what happened to me in the
So
beginning.
reputation, you're doing remodeling in the beginning, just you. And then when did you bring on somebody?
Early on, we brought somebody in to help me in the field. I literally was just me, and then I would hire, subcontractors to do certain things if I couldn't physically do it myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the jobs I was doing in the beginning weren't great big jobs. They were, come redo my kitchen. Okay.
What year was
I need
this?
electric, 1989.
And you had a Monte Carlo?
A what?
A Chevy Monte Carlo? Is that where?
No, I'm a truck guy, man. You've known me for 30 years. I'm a truck guy.
I mean, you could have had a Monte Carlo with tools in the back. My cousin's a 65-year-old carpenter. He's driving a RAV. I go, come on, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
Where's
but-
the truck, man?
Yeah, but he's from Detroit,
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay. It's close.
Which makes it worse.
Close.
Makes
Right.
it worse.
Wait a minute, he's driving a RAV? That's a Toyota.
I know. I don't understand it.
Right.
I had a Datsun 280Z that I actually parked at a Union parking lot, and they threatened to destroy it if I didn't get out of there. We're like, I got it from, I graduated from college. I got a 280Z. Come on, man. And I went back to Cleveland with it, and they were like, no deal. That's one of those towns that you better be prepared.
Not made in the U.S. of A., man.
They're not
Don't pull
playing
that
with
up in
you.
here, right?
They're not playing with you. The trucks that they had, I don't even think they really ever had a truck. My uncle drove a Lincoln to the job site. He would pull up to the Lincoln, he'd roll down the window, he would look around, he'd never talk to you, and then he'd drive away. And then at Sunday dinner, he would tell you what you did wrong. That was it. That's how he operated. He never did much because he was a lath guy from the 60s that stopped doing any type of work by 1973-ish and started building these beautiful homes. And then we all worked for him. But he got started very quickly. In fact, he would show me sheets of his profits, what he made on certain people. Like, again, are you Italian? Are you not Italian? Then that's how they still operate. I hate to tell you this, but it is not DEI in Cleveland. It is exactly what they want it to be.
Right.
Right? And that's how they are. And it seems to be that they're in a bubble. Like, they really don't get affected by much. They still know everybody. It's a very different group up there. Because, when you travel as much as I do and move as much as you see everybody. You meet everybody, and you know all the different things. And Florida was that kind of way, too. When I first came to Florida, I met a lot of guys that were strictly dealing with Floridians.
Yeah.
Especially up in the Panhandle. There were people who were elected to public office that I met that were talking to me about things that I was like, wow, at least they're confident in telling me these things. Was interesting. I seem to be able to be, people will tell me things that are almost like should be a secret, which is interesting. I don't know what that is. It's probably because I'm so kind. But I heard so much, that I was blown away by. But I thought, same kind of thing in Cleveland, right? Same kind of thing. So you have a truck, beginning contractors, and I joke around like that because when you're in high school and you're doing landscape jobs, side jobs, you're just throwing a lawnmower in the back of your trunk. You can't afford to buy a truck.
Exactly.
You got the car that you had, and that's it. Mine was a Monte Carlo. That's what I used. And we did a lot of jobs painting with that car. Put ladders on top of Thunderbirds. I mean, that's how we did it.
Right.
Until you could afford a truck or a van, something. So you moved up from a 2-man operation, and then the thing is, some guys never get past that.
And that's okay.
Some guys don't want to, right?
Yeah, right.
They can't do it.
Well, maybe they don't want to do that, right?
They can't, or they won't, or they don't want to.
Everything isn't for everybody. I made a conscious decision in a certain part of my career that I had to move away from high-end homes, residential renovations, and into commercial because it was easier for me to train people to follow the plans and specs. And typically the plans and specs on a commercial building are more detailed than a set of drawings for a house. Mm-hmm. You don't get normal drawings for a house today. You don't get, hey, what kind of doorknobs are they and what color they are. That's something you work out as you go through. It's very hard to train people on the abstract, right? How do you tell them, hey, make sure you know what kind of hardware and what color the hardware is so you can order the doors prepped correctly if you haven't done it before, right? If it's a commercial project, you got the plans and the specs, and I could grow my business with the commercial industry easier because it's easier to train people. Colleges are pumping people out as training plans and specs, right? What do the documents say? That's what you owe the client.
And these clients that you're dealing with are looking at those plans versus someone's wife trying to say, oh, look, we're done with that style of doorknob. We want a different type of hinge now, or you're changing things constantly because they can't visualize the whole thing until they start seeing it processed. And they're like, oh, now we don't like this, so we got to rip this out. And it becomes aggravating. So you become more of a psychologist than you do a contractor.
Very hard to train a team to deal with that type of client because that client wants to deal with the owner of the business. So how do you build a large business on that? I couldn't find a good way to do it because what I found is that the doctors that I work for work so much that you interacted a lot with the wife or the spouse or whatever, whoever that individual was assigned to you that, okay, hey, this is who's going to pick all the stuff out until it came time to pay the bill every month.
Right. And
then you got to deal with everybody or just the other one. It's just part of the industry. It's just the business. It's that part of the business. Yeah. So if you're not involved in all those discussions and you're not taking good notes and you can't regurgitate that information accurately to the person now asking you, why did you bill me for this and you didn't bill me for that? Why'd you do this, but you didn't do that? You've got to have all of that. Very difficult to train superintendent, project manager, any of that, because they're not involved in all those conversations. Where when you do commercial construction, there is a process, right? Request for information, request for proposal, construction change directive, whatever all of the acronyms are that goes with that, that terminology, there's a process for everything. You can train people to your process. What's our standard operating procedure for an RFP? What's our standard for an RFI or CCD or RFP for the...
So process to you is key.
I think the process
People,
for
process,
growing...
product, right? Do you ever hear that before?
Yep.
That's that Marcus Lemonis guy that sneaks up on CNBC and takes over your key lime pie store and comes in and says, hey, man, people, process, product.
Right.
If you don't follow that, he doesn't want to invest.
You can't grow an organization. What I found is as you're small, you can do it with the quality of the individual, right? You hire 3 or 4 really good project managers. You hire a couple of good superintendents. Hey, here's a plan. Go make them happy. Easy to do. 2, 3 people, easy to do. Mm-hmm. Hire quality people, know their stuff, good to go. Business grows and grows. Our industry is a complicated industry anyway. Process. Everybody does it the same way all the time. So although the, individuals may move around, they may have a personal thing they have to deal with. Hey, I'm on medical leave, I'm whatever. You can put somebody in a assistant superintendent. Okay, you're going over here. They know how Chris-Tel does it. This is our process. They can, within a day or two, they can pick up where we are and the process goes on. That's
and you teach all this, and then is there a fear that you're going to lose this person that you've just taught all this process and skill to, and then now they decide, because they're doing exceptionally well, right? This is a person you hang on to, and you revere this person, then you got to make sure that how do you keep this person from going somewhere else, especially today, everyone seems to want to float to the next greener pasture. In my career, I've learned that you have, in our business, I've seen over and over what I would call the less than ones, the 3 to 5s, and the more than 7s. And that means guy comes in, he's not a fit. He knows he maybe misstated something on his resume. You hired him. It doesn't take long. You as the employer know it. He's not going to fit. He's a less than 1, right? Then you have the 3 to 5s that come in. They come in gung-ho, go. And pretty soon they start to maybe get a little, I'm smarter than that guy. And, I'm making less. I'm this and that. They become a little bit disgruntled. And you look at their resume and you'll see a turnover every 3 to 5 years, right? They go through this cycle. So when I'm interviewing and I'm looking through resumes, I'm looking for the less than 1, the 1 to 2, the 3 to 5, the more than 7s. Right. The more than 7s are the guys and girls that you're trying to bring into whatever your culture is. And look, how do you hold on to them? You don't. You can't hold on to anybody that doesn't want to stay. So more than 7 years.
You bring them in, you treat them good, you try to do what's right by them. And if they choose to leave, they choose to leave. And somebody that's always chasing a dollar will always leave anyway, no matter what.
This is more than 7 years at one company, you're saying?
That's what I look for, right?
The 7-year itch. Is this what you're referring to?
Nope, that's a different issue.
Oh, is it? Okay. It seems like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the same thing that we hear about with people who move to Florida, right? You've got to make it through. I always say about 7 years before you decide that you can stay in Florida. You have to get through all, because it's the same kind of thing what you were saying with the levels of they're excited about coming, and then they realize what it is, and then they get bit by a fire ant. They're like, I get out of here. I can't do this.
Right. We had a hurricane. Got to go.
Right. Anything, the discouraging parts of each, whether it's a state or a company or the things that, like a relationship, it's all relationship. I always think that everything is relationship building. Almost everything is relationship building, no matter what it is. I agree with you.
Right. It's all business is a people business.
Everything is relationships, whether it's a true relationship, like me and my wife, or between my children, or between my business, or between anything else that I deal with in my life, even if it's a quick temporary relationship, like going to the gym today and almost getting into a beef, but it's a different game. But everything is a relationship right there where you got to make it through and last and not quit. So over 7 years for you is the key?
Well, everybody's life circumstance is a little different, right? So maybe you have a guy that's 3 to 5 years in a place. You just ask him about that on his interview. Hey, what happened here? What were you doing? What caused you to move? Maybe it's in-laws. Maybe it's, hey, I got married and my wife's family so-and-so. Okay,
A
fair
good
enough.
reason
Sure.
can exist.
Again, relationship, right? If you're going to have a long-term working relationship, employee, employer, business, all of that, it's got to be based on
The
trust.
resume liars. That's interesting.
Well, I mean,
What's a good resume lie?
I have seen resumes that and sat in one interview that the resume was clearly written by AI.
Already?
Oh yeah. Perfect resume on the books, and it happened to hit on something that we were familiar with, the project and company that was there, and you started asking questions, and they had no idea what you were talking about.
So you just completely said they were on a project that they weren't.
It didn't
Should have
fit.
made up a project that you never heard of. That would have been better because then you couldn't trace it back.
Right. Look, right. Technology in our industry is one of the most rapidly changing things, all the way down to AI on a resume.
So the resume, I always thought resumes were, yes, it's an example of a quick one sheet about what you can do, but those things can be fudged so easily.
Sure.
There's so many things you could put on a resume to get people to get you in the door.
Right.
But it is, again, what's your performance when you show up?
It is that. You also, like you mentioned, our family and our industry, our business has been in Fort Myers for a really long time. It's a very small industry, right? All of the CEOs of those companies all know each other.
Yeah.
All the subcontractors all know each other. Our labor force is all the same subcontractors, no matter what contractor you are. Your labor base is the subs in your local community. If you've been in that marketplace, and hey, I work for so-and-so from here to here.
Right.
I can call the CEO, and within the parameters of what they're allowed to say, they can say, hey, yes, no.
So there's rules, which you can say.
Well, yeah, they, you have to be a little politically correct with,
Because they could get you for some type of slander or whatever they would call that.
I don't know what they would call it, but like when I ask, I just typically would ask, would you hire this person again? Did they do good for you?
It's crazy that we can't tell the truth about things because we're worried.
I don't know if it's not the truth, right?
It's just not telling everything.
Want to be selective about what you ask.
Well, yeah, you got
part of it's none of my business. I don't
get
care.
it. You got to watch
right?
what you say, no doubt.
Right.
I
I only care about what matters to our business.
the
right?
lawyers
That's what
that
I
come to
wanna
my
know.
class are very careful about answering questions.
I've noticed that.
And they're
when I was in
lawyers.
class.
They're lawyers.
Right.
And they will not specifically say something because they know they can't.
Yeah, somebody will say, hey, you said.
They can't.
Right.
Unless you hire them, and then it's the lawyer, I guess. I
oh.
don't know much about, again, their rules either, but I know that they're careful.
Sure.
They're very careful. Unlike comedy.
You guys get paid to be off the rails.
We go off the rails, but still now when they start challenging us about something that we said on stage as a joke, don't you think that's a destruction of language and free speech for people? Isn't that wrong to do that? Comics are the only ones that can do this, right? Supposedly. But I guarantee you that if I said something, even on these pods, in comedy, in jest, that I could get blackballed from comedy clubs or bookers or certain events, or some people won't want to hire me because of who I'm affiliated with. So it's not like comics get to do whatever they want. It's sad that even comics got to watch their mouths because you don't want a comic to watch their mouth. You want the comic to be able to say, something that you can't say. That's exactly why we get hired. We're the salt and pepper of the earth. We should deserve a stipend. We shouldn't even have to beg for money, but we do. Look where I'm at. I'm in a small office compared. I don't even know where you live. You're probably on a yacht when you're talking to these interns.
No.
From your yacht, you're making calls.
Now I'm sitting behind the desk talking to them.
But I know you have a yacht.
I want to cross.
Don't you?
No, sir.
No more?
Nope. Sold it.
Okay, well, you did have a yacht.
No, I had.
By the way, that should be something that you should be proud of. My uncle had 12 racehorses. He had those Lincolns and those Cadillacs. He had that white brick mansion, and that's exactly why I was motivated to be in construction in the beginning because of him and his successes. Yeah, I mean, today my kids would say, well, I don't want to work for somebody because of what they represent or the product that they are hawking or something like that. We didn't have that. I wasn't thinking like that. I wasn't thinking about building homes for people. I was 20 years old. I was thinking about how much money is this guy making and how does he sit on the couch most of the time and still rake in the cash? I don't think that is probably the way that we operate anymore. I think that a lot of my kids are probably way more mature than I am. Even at this age, they're more mature than me. At 62, my 31-year-old, we call her HR because she really does have more guidance than I do. And she tells me what to say and how to dress. And she calls me, she says I have Asperger's. And she just says all kinds of stuff to me. And basically saying that I don't even know what I'm doing. And why are you doing this, Dad? And she's 31. She's half my age. Because she's been raised in this new time. I think that we were raised in an era of no one cares. Let's do whatever we want. Make money for making money's sake. The partying, the benefits of being rich, the glamour of being rich, lifestyles of the rich and famous. That was a show.
I remember that, yeah.
That was a show. MTV Cribs was a show showing people's monster, beautiful homes. They never had construction cribs. They never showed the plumber who was killing it with a 3-story house with an elevator on the bay. They never showed that guy. They should have. Because that's what motivated. Like I said, television was a way, like you said too, right? Your people who come to you in construction, who want to be interns and have a view, a picture. Right. Oh, we saw that couple that builds together and never argues. We saw Joanna and Chip, and Chip's always so chipper, and he loves her, and she's running, and she's got her own line at Target. Well, that's not construction.
No.
That's marketing, and that's Hollywood.
Well, you and I have had previous conversations about our entire industry has created marketing to get people into it, all the way from Builder Bob to Bob Vila to all of it, right? All the different shows, all about getting people involved and understanding home improvement, construction, to get people into our industry and interested into,
and the fact
hanging drywall, whatever.
The stuff that really should interest you is look at the way I hung that drywall. Look at the tapes. Look how I taped it. Look how I sanded it. Can you find a nail hole? That should be the driving interest, your work, right? But like I'm saying, when we were starting, it was about, oh my God, how much money has Uncle Frank got?
Yeah, I don't know if we, when I grew up, I started on the carpentry crew when I was old enough not to sweep the floor or break the concrete out or whatever. They put me on the carpentry crew carrying boards, whatever, and then you move up to doing it, right? It was all about how good can you do this? How good can you make that joint? How do you know how to do an inside coat? All of those things. For you? Pardon me?
For you, though?
Oh, yeah. No,
they convinced you
to
be that way?
Yeah, if you can't do it. My grandfather was a guy that, watertight joints, son, take that apart and do that.
Do you think that's going on today?
We have a QA/QC program on our job, so yeah, it is going on. Is it watertight joints? You're not putting the same kind of trims up today.
The overbuilding that you used to do back in the day because code wasn't good enough. I grew up with those carpenters, those people who said,
yeah. Oh no, for sure. No, when we go through, we're working on a 91 unit right now, and we literally went in after the drywall was up. Right, you hold the light on it sideways and look for all the blemishes, and then circle it all and go back and touch it all up and sand it out smooth, right? Level 4 is true level 4 or level 5, whatever they bought. This case was level 4.
You think it's because it's a higher level standard of a job, a better job, like on the lower end jobs? You get someone who's coming in, and I've had work done by people who were not that great, and I didn't care when they were done that it wasn't that great.
Project I'm referring to is affordable housing. We did a level 4 finish on the drywall in affordable housing.
Wow.
Yep, because that's how we do it. You hire us to do it, that's what you're going to get.
But do we see I guarantee you that you're different than everybody else because what you're telling me, I don't hear a lot of this. Mark Baldwin, when I had him on, same thing. When he was talking about the way he builds and his requirement, and when he's done, it's got to look to his standard, and he's holding people's hands.
Correct.
I don't hear that a lot.
Well,
I don't hear it a lot.
but you're interviewing, in your opinion, the people that you think are the cream of the crop in our business,
That's
right?
why the people have been coming to my classes for 30 years. That's
Right.
what's going on.
We need to have a drywall
I
finishing
inadvertently have
class.
trained people in a way, because really, if you think about it, out of the 40 of your years that you've been around, no, hell, you've been around 35 years. You've been with me over 25 of them.
A bunch, yeah. Yeah, we almost got you trained.
You got me trained.
Almost got you trained.
It's so true, too,
Right.
right? Oh, you don't think that they train me in class?
Of
Are
course
you
they
kidding
do.
me? Those
Of course they do.
contractors trained me.
Look, I know, right?
And I started out as a 35-year-old
I remember. I was there.
nobody.
I was there.
And I tried to be humble with everyone and say, you guys know way more than I do, so please be easy on me.
No, I don't remember it that way.
Remember how humble I was?
Yeah, I completely do remember exactly how humble you were or were not. You bet.
No,
Look,
it is.
all of us were young enough then to not even know what we didn't know.
Oh, I know.
We just
It was great.
didn't quit.
It was
We
great.
just did it.
Well, that's what I'm trying
was
to
great.
say is that I really have to. I'm not making an excuse
Was
for how
great.
poor I was in the quality of my thinking because I was young. I wasn't interested in much except how do I get money? How do I buy another car? How do I pay for my bills? And when I got married, how do I take care of my kids and my wife?
Right.
And then, like I'm saying to you, you've got this program for the bank because after time, you now have reached, I don't know if you remember this hierarchy of needs pyramid that I've shown in class, right? This Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where if you get food and water and air and shelter,
Correct.
then you can move up to the next level,
Correct.
which is
Right.
love and relations. Then you can move up to self-esteem, and then you get to this top where you're at this, really, at this, on the top of this pyramid, you're at that level where it's not so much giving back, it's just trying to be the best you can be in every aspect. It has nothing to do with you anymore. You've achieved all your needs, and now the need is to help everybody else. I don't think that's, is that correct, Donnie? Donnie's 31. He knows way more. Is that what Maslow's hierarchy of needs top pyramid is?
I study calculators.
Okay, forget it. So anyway, at the top of the pyramid, there is some, well, we don't do any fact checking in this room because it's boring, and I hate it because everyone else does fact checking. But I
Well,
know
on this
because
podcast, we can have a lot of people fact checking.
they will. They'll say
sure.
something, but that is not incorrect. Something at the top makes you, once you've achieved all your needs, looking out for everybody else.
Well, think about your life when you grew up, right? There are people along the way that took an interest in what you're doing to make you better. We all have it. Some of the time the people know they're doing it, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes things just happen, and it might have been a banker. It might have been a guy that gave you a gas credit card. I mean, I'll never forget when I was brand new in business, I could use a gas credit card. And the folks from one of the major corporations said, nope, you hadn't been in business long enough. After I'd been in business about 10 years, they came around begging for our business. I said, I will never have a credit card from you. Ever,
Oh, really?
Ever. Because when I needed one, you wouldn't give it to me.
But someone did give you one.
It wasn't that company. I didn't want one. Oh, somebody did.
You
yeah,
said someone
bet.
gave you one first.
Oh, yeah, for gas. You bet. You're right, right.
What do you mean gave it to you? You applied?
Yeah, you applied for the credit.
And
right.
okay, someone
But-
trusted you to handle the credit.
Absolutely. Right, to pay your bills.
And the guy
But when
that
you're
didn't-
brand new in business, right, and
Right.
you're literally trying to pay yourself and it's just you, and you got to pay the lumberyard and you got to pay these things
Yeah.
and all this stuff, somebody that's willing as a gas company, oil company, to finance your something as small as that.
But you still held, you held a grudge over this other credit card company.
You just, the
You
point
said you'll
is,
never
no,
ever take it from them.
No, right, correct.
Were they right though? Were you not ready for the card?
In their opinion, they were right. So in my opinion, I don't have to buy from you. That's a
So
free market
you're like
system.
my grandma.
I don't know. Sounds like a nice lady.
She
Sound
won't-
like a
if
great lady.
She used to, if you
Right.
did something against grandma,
Right.
she wouldn't even tell you that she was upset. She would wait till you needed something, then she would bring it up. You remember the time you didn't give me the gas credit card? I go, what? I don't remember.
Right.
And then that's when she goes, so no cannoli for you.
Look, that's what the fleet guest salesman looked like when I told him I'll never have a credit card from you.
We were talking about people that did something for
Yes.
you, by the way.
So yeah, the point is you remember who helped you and you remember who didn't.
Oh, you didn't include
Right?
that on the first discussion.
Well,
You
that's
said,
why
oh,
we expanded it. Look, this is a long show.
You still,
We got time.
you still remember the people who did something to you.
And you remember the ones that did things for you.
Yeah.
Right? So the point is in
Do you
your
think it's
career,
smart to remember the ones that didn't do things for you?
Do I think it's smart too?
Yeah. I mean, I do this. I don't think it's smart in some
I don't
ways.
think it's smart, but I think it's hard sometimes to forget them.
Yeah, I don't think it's smart because I've done it both ways,
Right.
and it usually doesn't work out.
Look,
When you're focusing on that, it takes you away from this.
Yeah, I don't know that it would be wise to focus on it, but doesn't mean you forgot it.
Yeah. I know.
But
I don't forget either.
You remember the people that helped you, right? Is the point. So, as you get older in business, whatever your business is, why wouldn't you give back to those people that some of them aren't even wise enough to know that you're helping them, and that's okay, right? Because there are things that people that helped me when I was in my 20s, I didn't realize they'd help me till I was in my 40s.
You are at this pyramid. You're at the top.
I don't know about all that.
This is a
You know,
perfect
it's
case
just,
example. I didn't even know you were. If I would have known why you were in class, I would have pointed at you and said, "Howard is at this level already."
I know you would have really exploited that. We'd have got 30 minutes out of just that. All right, I know.
It's so true though, because what you're doing, you think I don't know if this is a common trait, Howard.
I think there's an awful lot of people that give back in this
Maybe
world,
because you're
right?
surrounding yourself with these people.
Look, we just try to do the right thing for the right reason.
It's inspiring. No. It's inspiring. Did you want to be inspiring today?
I don't know if I got up this morning saying I'm going to be inspiring with Carmine today, but, I'll let you judge
But you
that.
are. You are.
Look, it's the right thing to do, right? There are people that have helped us in life, and we can help them.
And for me, 100%, because I have put myself out there.
I've known you a long time. You have never said, yeah, I know I could help you with that, but I'm not going to do it. I've never seen you do that.
No, I would never do
Exactly.
that. Never.
Right? Because
No.
you help
No.
your
I would
people.
never do it.
And they don't even have to be Italian.
I know, and that's why I'm a little higher in the pyramid than my cousins.
Yeah,
and
you
my,
passed your uncle.
I've passed the family. It's all you ever really care for. Can I do them? And then my kids can stand on my shoulders and
Right.
reach the top.
Right?
My daughter's like that.
Right.
My middle daughter, she's a team player.
All your kids are probably like that. They just might not
shoot.
grow into the different
I'm in
levels
trouble.
now,
Yes,
right?
all my children, if they ever, which they will never listen to this, but yes, I love them all equally. God, thank you for saving me.
Right. All your kids are like that.
Yes, they are.
Some of them may not realize it till they're in their 40s, right? Everybody realizes things differently in
Yeah.
life. Your middle daughter realized it early. Good for her.
Yeah, she
for
sticks
her.
out heavily because
Right.
she just constantly is like this.
Your son's in construction, so he's obviously a little hard-headed, or he wouldn't still be banging away in that business.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. He'll get there.
And he's a good kid. He
Right.
really is. And he's a loving person. And he used to, they force the kids to volunteer. That's how it starts now. I don't know if you know about this. High schools didn't force you to volunteer.
No,
Our
when
kids
I was
they
there.
went through the IB program, right?
Mine were working hard to force me to stay and come to class.
Yeah. That's the thing is that they're so much better in some ways.
Right.
And
course
I
they-
didn't believe it, but they have exceeded that. They did volunteer. They knew about community. They understood, team playing, and it really did benefit them.
Of course it did. Look, our society is a different place than when we grew up in the 80s, right? Kids are smarter today. They have access to more information.
Yeah.
They just do.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad. It depends the policing of the information.
So you're giving people these opportunities, by the way.
Trying to.
When you say like you don't know who's going to help you, and it's true.
You don't
have
know.
to you have to kind of look back,
Right.
and realize, well, how did I get here?
There are people in your life that helped you. They might not have even known it, and you might not have known it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But hindsight's clear as a bell.
Right.
You bet.
So people will look back, and not necessarily you're not that interested in saying, I want credit for it.
No.
It's just that you don't even know if it's going to happen or if it did happen.
Doesn't matter.
It's just that you're putting it out there.
Doesn't matter.
This is one of those universal things where you say, I'm going to put it out in the universe. If it happens, it's great. I'm just doing what I believe is right.
Right.
And you're helping generally all the time.
Right.
All the time.
We have a saying in our business, and we say it all the time, right? Do the right thing regardless of profit or loss. Do the right thing. Regardless of profit or loss.
Really?
Sometimes doing the right thing comes with a loss. Absolutely.
This is a business you're running.
Correct. Correct.
This business is not in Canada.
No, it's in Southwest Florida.
It's in Florida. And you're saying this.
Florida.
Huh. Ah, wow. So the title of this pod has got to be something in the area of the charitable contractor or the giving man or something.
I don't know. I don't know about
Fort
that. Right?
Myers,
there's-
the new Mecca. So it's got to be something where we come to see you. Like everyone will have to point towards you at some part of the day and say, Howard, you're doing something so phenomenal.
Look, there's lots of good people
And
in
you know,
our industry.
Is it because? What if you weren't successful? What if you weren't successful? Do you think you'd still be like this? Monetarily.
I don't know. I kind of felt
does-
the same way when it was just me driving nails. I just didn't know.
Same guy.
If somebody needed help on a weekend, I'd go help them, right? You work all week, and Sunday afternoon, your buddy wants to, his wife's talking to him about putting a deck on the back of his porch.
Right.
And you know,
So do you
as
think
close to a 2x6 as he's ever been at shopping for something at Home Depot.
that's
just go over and
that's
do
the
it.
answer then?
Just go over and do it.
Is this the answer for everyone?
Probably not, right? Everybody's different.
I think you might hit on something here. You've changed me for a little bit here. I think you've changed me. I believe that you might have changed me. Sometimes I will not help people.
I don't know. You know,
If I see a Chrysler broken down on I-75, I am like, you know about Chrysler. I'm not pulling over.
all right.
Or will you pull over even if they know they put themselves in that jam? They bought a Chrysler. They knew how bad Chryslers were. You're still going to help someone even if they put you in that jam, themselves in the jam. You would still say, I know you did this to yourself. Like, how far will you go?
Well,
You have kids?
I have 2 stepsons. Yep.
And they're doing good.
They're doing good. Yeah, they're flats fishing guides in Key West. They're doing
Nice.
awesome.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. They're doing great.
So kids kind of, can put you in that position. Sometimes they don't listen. They get themselves in a hole. And parents typically will give until the parent just wears themselves out. I've seen that.
And you keep
I've
giving.
seen that. Huh?
And you still keep giving.
And you still keep giving.
Right.
Right. So, and especially this type of personality, someone who's a big giver to people
Look,
will beat themselves for someone else.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not.
So everyone should work with you is what we're feeling here. Everyone should
Hey, look,
be.
if somebody's hardworking, wants
This-
to do their job, I mean, we don't run a charity organization, right?
It just seems if when you're doing this RFQ thing, or if you're doing any type of, when the county is searching for what contractor to use, this pod should be submitted as a credential for them to listen to you.
You know, they
Are you kidding me?
should.
Did you hear what he said today?
look. It should, but there's
You sold
know,
the boat and you gave the money to charity?
No, I didn't
Oh,
give the
okay.
money
I was
to
just not
charity.
sure how far we
Look,
went with
and,
this.
You know, you go back to the boat there a second, right? We're talking about an old fishing boat. We're not talking about use the word yacht.
Yeah, it made it down to Key West. I know that.
It did make it to Key West, right? Yeah. Took
Yeah.
both oars and 2 guys paddling, but we made it.
Are you boating at all?
Yeah, I got an old Aquasport.
Oh, so you got a little smaller.
22 feet. That's
Okay.
all we need.
All right. Like a fishing boat.
Yeah, center console.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is the beauty of. That's why I wanted to do this pod, by the way, because I don't know if people understand when you, again, from the intern that you hire to the
Right.
guy who's watching construction on TV, whether it's Bob the Builder or Joanne and Chip or the Property Brothers, or maybe who they see on the streets, working on the county, some city guy in the sewer, someone on a roof. People don't know what construction 100% is. I've always found there's a deeper, the characteristics of the blue collar man seems to be more well-rounded than a lot of people. They have multiple businesses. They're invested in communities. They're doing something physical and mental. No, they're well-rounded. It's a well-rounded human. And you're not kidding when you say that these guys are giving because, they're forced to go to a 14-hour seminar with me. And I don't think anybody wants to really do this. After 27 years, you think the state would go, you've learned enough with Carmen. We're going to now waive this. You don't have to go anymore. But they still come. And you know what they do? They get there early and they want to help me set up chairs. And they stay late and they want to help me tear it down. And I go,
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
You still want to help?
Nobody goes into construction that doesn't have the temperament to be a fixer, right? There's a problem, I'm going to fix it. The chairs aren't set up, let's set them up. The chairs need to be picked up, let's pick them up.
Yeah. And that's exactly.
My beer's empty, fill it up, right?
That's exactly it.
Fix it. Construction people are fixers.
And you think men are like that in general?
Men?
Let's get into gender now.
Look, I think there are men and women that go into construction because they're fixers.
I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about men. This is called Men in Labor, this pod.
Yes, I listened to this pod.
So the
before I
men, don't
came
you
to
think
be
men
pregnant.
have the need to fix,
I think some
like
do.
take care of stuff,
Some do.
right? If your wife says it's a little dark in here, aren't you on a ladder changing a light bulb out with that indirect kind of thing? Even if it's indirect, which she doesn't say change the bulb, because my wife doesn't say anything direct anymore. It's
Well,
more
you've
like
been married long enough, you know what she means.
it's right. You know what she means, and you want to fix it,
Right.
And then you're up there taking the bulb out. She goes, "I didn't say do that.
Right.
I like that bulb. That's it. It's one of those incandescent. I don't want the LED. It's too." But we're trying to fix. We're trying to help,
We're fixers.
and we'll do whatever you tell us to do.
As long as you don't tell us, that's right. Hey, Kelly's mastered that.
And if you tell me what to do,
I'm not going to do it.
But I will. It just depends now. Hang on now.
If you tell me like that, I ain't doing it, Kelly.
If it's the tone has to be right. I get it. What you're saying.
That's
The
right.
tone has to be right, and it has to be on my time frame.
Right.
That's
Well,
another
construction's all about scheduling.
That's another thing. If you put a picture against the wall because you want it hung on there,
Right.
I'll do it.
I will.
But I can't do it right now.
No, I'm watching Chip on TV.
Right. And if I see you hanging it by yourself later on because you're like, well, I need it done and you weren't, I was going to do it, right? Because we want to do these things. We want to fix. We want to help physically. And so what
Here, honey, you
we're
want to use
missing,
my level?
what we're missing though is people who are not physically doing things. They're going to therapy because they're not swinging a sledgehammer. You need to swing a sledgehammer. You need to at least turn a wrench, something.
Right.
Right? I went out there today. I was just fixing. I have this little exercise bike. I flipped it over. I'm oiling the change. There's some sad.
been riding
there's some
it pretty
sad-
fast.
Right? I'm riding that thing off. It doesn't go
turned it
anywhere.
over.
It doesn't even go anywhere. And I'm like, I smell the grease. I have the WD-40 in the car. Like I like when I have all the tools at my access, and I can fix that thing, even though it's nothing big. But it was something that cost you $200 in therapy. That right there would straighten your head out. I wasn't in a great mood when I woke up this morning. I don't know why.
Need a $7 can of WD-40. No.
It just changes your life.
Right.
Pumping gas, any of that kind of stuff. Guys need to do it. I think guys need it more than women, by the way. Women are very good with the emotional, and
So God,
they're very good with
gender
that.
expert, I'm not.
I'm just a man who knows a lot. And if you need guidance, if you get lost, Howard, call me.
I'll call you if I'm lost.
I could tell you.
I'll call you if I'm lost.
So I think we covered quite a bit. Donnie, how long are we?
We're about an hour 20.
Hour 20. That's a good pod. Unless there's something else, we covered almost everything. A little bit of family history about where you're at.
A little bit of that.
Your kind of your style, who you are,
Right.
your strong business, right? And do you see yourself getting out at any time soon? Do you have any suggestions for people who? Because I think I'm at this level now where I talk to a lot of guys who they don't know if they want to leave it. They don't know how to retire. And they don't even know if it's a good idea. Is there any suggestions on a strategy? Is there an exit strategy? Or do you feel like maybe you should never quit?
Exit strategy for me personally?
Yeah.
We created an
You don't like to give advice to other people, do you?
Well, we created
Because every time I've asked you something, it goes back to me personally. Because I think you're worried. Is there a lawyer in the room? Is Molly an attorney?
She is not.
Okay.
Look, my personal thing is our company created an ESOP 5 years ago, right? So the employee stock option plan is where the employees end up with the company. That's my strategy.
And then what?
For time.
What happens to you?
I guess it depends if they need me or don't. My goal is to create an environment where they don't.
And then you'll go where?
Wherever Connie tells me, I guess.
Flats fishing?
Maybe, yeah.
Back to the
the boys
Keys.
know where the fish are. I just go with the boys.
You'll
and
be
catch 'em.
fine with that. You won't. It won't bother you if when you get out, you're not going to be a Michael Jordan. You're not coming back later on because you missed
Into
the
construction?
game. It's an analogy. I know you're not Michael Jordan. If you're coming,
I'm too short.
you're coming back because guys sometimes can't quit. They don't know what to do.
I think construction's an industry that is always in your blood, right? People in our industry, if they've been in it a really long time, they typically it can be generationally, or you're in it a really long time. That's who you are, right? It's not just what you do. That's who you are.
Yeah.
So
Right.
does that ever go away? Probably not. But You know, it's kind of like if you have kids, you grow them up, right? What's the job? To make big people out of little people so they can go make good decisions themselves.
You still can't let go of them, though, right?
But I don't look at Chris-Tel any differently. It's my job to grow it up to where the people that are there right now are fantastic. They do run the business. They do what needs to be done. And it's my job to grow it up and not
How many hours a day are you still putting into the company?
Oh, I do my emails from 2 to 4 in the morning. And then I start, I'm usually there somewhere between 7 and 8. And I'll be there until, 5. And then on Friday, it might be a little shorter, or I might be working remote on
2
Friday.
to 4 in the morning. What?
Yeah, that's when I do all my emails.
Oh, your emails. I thought you
My
said
emails.
Your emails.
I'll do all my emails from early in the morning.
Do you go to bed
Sure.
first?
Yeah, like 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
Oh, then you get up at 2
Yeah. do
to
my emails.
4, and then 4 to 7.
No,
You're still
4
up?
to-
Are you still up?
a lot of times. Yeah, a lot of times.
For 3 hours in the dark.
I just, yeah,
Walk in the house. Just walking back and forth.
I'm changing those light bulbs constantly about or putting the pictures up. It
Wait,
just
just
depends
chopping
what's
at the
going
bit
on.
to get to work. Are you lifting?
You
what are you doing?
You say get to work. When you're in this business for your whole career, you're kind of always at work.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of stuff that I do now, it's on the computer, on the iPad, on the phone, on the whatever. We'll be reviewing schedules or contracts or budgets. Or
And you still
proposals.
find it interesting to you.
Oh yeah, because it always changes. You know, you had a young person that wants to come into this business. What I'd tell them is consistent is change. Change is consistent. Technology, right? Technology in our business has transformed tremendously in our business since I've been in construction industry.
Yeah. You're talking about the paperwork aspect. What about the physical aspect?
Both.
Which has been the major change physically?
I came from a time when you didn't have a cell phone on a job site. Right? Remember the old radio phones in the truck and the horn would blow? You'd have to run out and answer the phone.
Yeah.
Right? Every single thing from that to, I remember when we got our first fax machine, right? I mean, our entire industry has become instantaneous. You know, they used to use the old builder's level or the transit, either one, depending on if you had a dumpy or a level. Now it's all lasers, right? That's in the field. It's all lasers. You know, you used to bend over and have a pipe screed to run your concrete on with a screed rod. Today you got a laser. You're either doing it by hand,
Still a human.
with a power screed.
Still
or
a
you're
human,
doing-
though, right?
What's that?
Still the human.
Oh yeah, of course.
Different tool.
Different set
Still-
of tools.
still human.
But that technology is always changing. So if you're a young person getting into this industry, grab a hold of whatever the technology is and use it, because it's not going away.
All right. Well, this 2 to 4 in the morning thing is still making me think about what I don't know what you're doing.
No, it's
This is just a lot.
I find it to be really productive, right? There's no
You're getting up at 2. Just
automatically get up at 2, wake up at 2. I've
can't go
done it.
back.
I've done it ever since, for 35 years I've done that, right? Since I started my business,
So
I
did
got up early.
you fight it in the beginning? Because I'm
No.
starting to get up at 2 too. I go
never-
right back to bed. I don't know if I can stay up now.
I know, but that's different, right? I got to get up a minute. I got to go in here and get a drink of water. I go back, right? Yeah, no.
Right.
Now you get up, I wake up, and if I'm awake and I'm thinking about it, my theory is go do something about it. Don't just sit there and worry about it. Go get your computer started and send your email, answer your email, whatever it is. Rather than lay there and think about it. You're not solving anything
These are
by thinking
traits
about
of
it.
successful people. I hate to tell you this again.
But
You're,
it's what you do, man.
You're
You
super
just-
successful. I don't know if
just
you know
do
this. I don't, has anyone even told you you're successful? You are successful.
Jury's out. Jury's out.
I hear this. I hear people doing this nighttime
Yeah.
work. I tried this a couple times. It doesn't work real well with comedy.
No.
Because you go to bed sometimes at 2.
Yeah, right. That wouldn't work for me.
Right. And I'm driving a lot too. Like
Right. Different industry. Different industry.
So
You know-
people don't like when I sleep during the day from 2 to 4. I don't know if that's equal to you getting up for emails at 2. But I go, I have coffee right after this. I'll have some coffee. I'll fall asleep. If I have a show, then I got to leave like at 7. And then I'm gone until
Yeah.
1 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah, that wouldn't.
It's horrible.
That wouldn't work.
It's horrible.
For me. Right.
But I keep doing it. I can't quit.
That's what you do.
I don't know why. It's in me. Like I can't. Like I'm asking you for exit strategy advice, and you're not helping.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know much about comedy, my man.
It's just the same thing. It's like you said, the technology has changed a little bit. We used to yell in the streets. Now we have microphones. It's a whole different.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. Hey, the good news is you don't pay them to be on stage; they're paying you.
They're paying me. It's fun.
Progress.
It's really a great thing.
Progress.
Right? To have something you love is what I'm saying. You love it so much that you don't view it as work. You view it as, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is what I'm made out of.
That's what I do.
And this is what I always want to be known for. So we have to give you a great title for this pod. We'll work on it. But I thank you, Mr. Howard Wheeler from Chris-Tel Construction, Fort Myers.
Fort Myers, Florida.
Next year we'll have school again. It'll be good.
We will. That'd be great. See you in Key West.
All right.
This is Men in Labor. Heavy loader.